Okay, my topic today is Christians cannot be a good business person. That's from Be Wise as a Serpent. Because Christian generally, right, it's a myth. I feel that it's a myth. Ever since I was growing up, I wanted to disprove this myth. Because Christians or a business person, you always need to think how to outsmart the other person. You need to, profit should be the number one goal. So the bottom line that you always look into the bottom line, there's always an easier way to get that, but might not necessarily to be the right way. Okay? So you cannot, people generally think that you cannot mix faith with business. And for me, it's always a struggle between the right way, the quick way, and profit. So this is why this verse has really, really helped me. Now in the King James Version, it says, "Behold, okay, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as a serpent and harmless as dove." That's in King James. King James 10, King James Matthew 10, chapter 16, chapter 10, verse 16. But in NIV, it says, "I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as a snake and as innocent as doves." Frankly speaking, when I memorized this verse, I was 7 to 9 years old, less than 10 years old. I was still in Taiwan. So I didn't remember this verse in English. I remember in Chinese. And in Chinese or Mandarin, it says it's 灵巧像蛇，善良像鸽子。灵巧像蛇，善良像鸽子。To me, that's a better translation. You see, 灵巧, so if you translate that, it's not shrewd, it's not as wise, it's actually more cunning. You have to know your ways around. But 善良像鸽子, so I throw out the first half, right? You need to be as wise as a serpent, 灵巧像蛇. But the main thing, it's not that. That's just an application. So the main thing is 善良像鸽子. You have to be as innocent or as pure as a dove. So wise as a serpent, okay? I think snake has a bad rap because a lot of people don't like snake. I don't like snakes. I'm afraid of snakes. Okay? I have a friend in Guan, and I visited him years ago. Okay, and he was fishing buddy. So he was showing me. I went to visit Guam, finished my business, went to see my friend. He was taking me to his secret fishing spot. So it's in a park. You have grass, and then you have the jetties. So we went over there and started to rain. We started to run back. And this friend, in the middle of running back, he yelled, "Snake!" You see, I'm afraid of snake. Guam are known for the snakes. I jumped. I realized he was just joking. But with snake, okay, although they get all of the bad rap, okay, well, even in the Bible, right, you describe devil as a snake or as a serpent. But snake, they are different in the sense that they have their cold-blooded reptiles. So which means that they have to be able to survive. Okay, so in the morning, normally they will come out to get the sunbathe, so warm up their body temperature. And then they seldom they will attack people. They're not really aggressive. Seldom they will attack people. But their survival, it's always trying to test their environment to see how you can survive. How is the best way to go? Maybe they slither around, but that's how they survive. So learning from the snakes, one is you do the best you can. Of course, from the Bible verse, then you are beware of the wolves. Because yes, in this environment, in the business environment, there are a lot of wolves. We ourselves could be a wolf too. Okay? So, but then if you know that you always have to be as wise as a serpent, then you can try to think to be aware of what could happen to you. So you try to not to get hurt, avoid danger. And that means you have to think outside the box. Now this comes a little bit with my background. So Johnson, you have 10 kids. I came from a family of 10 kids. I'm number 6. Okay? I'm number 6. As a number 6, you're not old enough to boss the younger ones. So you always have to listen to the older one. So survival, it's almost like a serpent. You always have to negotiate your way around. But in my family, what's even worse is that my father is a pastor. So we're PKs. So if you're Christian, you know, most people think pastors' kids are nice kids. No. We are some of the most rowdy kids that's around. And also, coming back to snakes, is that you don't assume. So don't just make the assumptions. Okay? And this brings you, something I remember, Ray Sushi. I don't know if some of you will know. Ray Sushi back in the East Bay, okay? Before they moved to Maui, they were in Hayward. So they've been there, I think, 15 or 18 years. Known that restaurant inside out. Always go there to eat. Know all the waitresses, all the chefs, and the owners. So there was once I was there, dinner with some friends in the evening. So afterwards, I went to the restaurant. When I came out from the restaurant, I saw 2 ladies coming toward me, and they have that strange look. So I assumed, first thing, looked out. Right? First thing I looked at, nothing. I'm safe. So I puzzled. Then they walk past me. They walk into the men's room. So I look at it, whoa, what are they doing? Then I look. I realized I came out from the ladies' room. So don't assume. Now, as a serpent, I'm glad this is a sharing. This is sharing. Pure as dove. You see, because as a dove, you come from a good heart, okay? And it's based on the Christian principles. And you have to be a second violinist. Now, in high school in New York, I played the violin. I was in the orchestra all my high school years. I'm the second violinist. And I know, being a second violinist, you don't necessarily get the credit, but it is an important part of the whole orchestra. So without the second violinist, the first violinist can't really show her stuff. So you have to have that attitude that you be a second violinist. So in anything that you do, you already know, right? If you have that attitude, then you should be okay. Then the other one is, once you have that second violinist attitude, then you know you could become a servant. When you become a servant, it's a servanthood, so it's a lifestyle. Then to keep that, it's daily devotion. Now, daily devotion, for me, it's actually sometimes difficult. I found that I'm a better Christian when I travel. Because when I'm at home, I'm comfortable with my environment. I don't know if you have the same problem. I'm more comfortable with my environment. But when I travel, I am more aware. I need to be like a serpent. I need to be like a snake. I need to watch out for my environment. I need to watch out for temptations. So I'm actually a better Christian when I'm travel. But daily devotion, it's actually very, very critical. And then you find a resting place. The resting place, it's like to let out your tension. So for me, it's fishing. It's fishing. Also eating. Most of you know. Right? But you always try to look at the positive side of the situations. And then you learn other hobbies. Right? Well, I picked up photography because my son was playing paintball. So I picked up photography, wanted to capture those moments. So now he stopped playing, but I have those in the background. Then the other thing, I always love flying. but I'm not a pilot. I'm too chicken to be a pilot. But I love to fly the drones. And with the drone, then you can see my dream is to go fishing. You have your small drone, the Maverick Pro. You fly that, then you look where the fish are. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Building a business with Christian principles. I learned from my parents. My father, his name is Bellman Lin Sangang. So I normally don't like to share about his background, about him, because once I share that, I have to behave. Because now people think that you're PK. You got to behave. My father, he graduated from Jiao Tong Daxue, so National Jiao Tong University in Shanghai. So in the 1940s, actually Jiang Zemin was one of his schoolmates. Okay, during that time, he was schoolmate. Jiang Zemin is more toward political affiliations, so they have the clubs, okay, communist clubs in the university. My father was in the Christian clubs. Okay. And then he became a Christian under Watchman Nee Tuosen. Okay. People say that this is a local church in China. And he came to Taiwan with Nee Tuosen's one of the co-workers. It's Witness Li Changshou. So I remember them little. When I was little, I remember Li Changshou, not Watchman Nee. But then in the mid-1960s, he left the local church because he felt that the church was going to the wrong directions. Okay, but graduated from the Jiao Tong Daxue, he himself is working for the government, the Taiwan government, or the Kuomintang. So he came here as a civil engineer. He had a good job. And at the time, he was serving the church, developing the different churches in Taiwan, Mandarin-speaking churches in Taiwan. And when he had the calling, that God wanted him to quit his job, go full-time into the ministry. His boss is Li Guoding, right, who was considered the father of Taiwan, Silicon Valley. So he quit, and Li Guoding didn't really like that. He denied his resignation until Li Guoding was angry, allow him. So this is something I know from my father since very, very young. Capability is one thing, but conviction is something else. So after that, in 1969, he came to the US. Now, if you remember, some of you probably went to this before, the West Coast Chinese Christian Conference. It started in 1969. He was one of the first speakers. There was two speakers. I think it was Reverend Paul Han and Bellman Lin. So after that, right, he thought that God wanted him to bring the whole family here. 10 kids. The first one had to go to the armed services. So he brought the 9 here. Now, during that time, that's when when U.S. recognized China. Right? So coming to the U.S. basically is impossible. But his prayer was, God, if this is your will, he just applied. And as a pastor, there's no income. You live on faith. So growing up, I can say that in Taiwan, the only new clothes that I ever wore was from auntie that bought this bomber jacket for me. Other than that, it's always hand-me-downs. I'm number 6. First 3, it's boy. 4 and 5, a girl. I'm number 6. So everything that I wore, it's at least 4 years old. All hand-me-downs. But that's how we live. But we're not nice kids. We're rowdy. When parents left the house, when they go to the services, the kids, we will turn the sofas and we will shoot each other with rubber bands. But what I learned from my father is one is an authority. Okay, when we're growing up, he's an authority. We all fear him. But as we grow older, that role changed. He became a counselor, became an advisor, and became a friend. So the typical scene when I see my father, it's we see each other, we hug. But when we hug, we don't hug like this. There's a reason for that. We have to hug like this because both of us have tummy. So we hug like this, and then we do and see who's worse now. Now, a little thing about my dad. Little thing about my dad. He was telling me, this is more than 10 years ago. He said, "Hey, I'm losing weight." He said, "See, I didn't have to buy new pants, okay? And my belt buckle was putting lower and lower, shorter and shorter." I looked at it and I said, "No, you just wear your pants lower and lower." But example of a counseling is a teenager. So you already know we're not really that nice teenager. So as a teenager, we used to hang out, especially in summer times. So the curfew was 11 p.m. But we will hang out around our house. There's a driveway, and then the garage is all in the back. So we will hang out in the driveway. We will talk. There's a porch. My parents' room is right upstairs. Okay? There was one night, it's almost after midnight. We were still talking, guys, summertime. Then we heard steps. So everybody scampered. I hid under the car. It was my father. He came out, and he realized everybody's hiding. So what did he do? Instead of scolding me, and he knew I'm one of them, he just called my name out. He said, "Embo." He said that. He explained, he said, "We set this curfew for a purpose, but you're bothering your neighbors. You guys passed that. You're bothering your neighbor. You're bothering your parents. And I'm your father. You don't need to hide from me." Then he left and went back upstairs. I'll tell you, that was the last time we passed the curfew, because I would rather him punish me. And because he did not, I learned my lesson even more. So being a counselor, that's how you do this. Okay? Now, accepting Guan job, KGC's job. So I know everything is planned by God. Okay? What I know about Guan, or what I know about Singapore, I didn't even know anything about Guan. Okay? What I know about Singapore is this tiny little country, 25 miles across, and there's this person called Li Guangyao. That's all I knew. Okay? Because we came to the US in 1971. So I grew up in New York. I don't know anything about Guan. Came to the West Coast in 1980. I joined the fellowship, BCCF, the Berkeley Chinese Christian Fellowship. Okay? And that's because my roommate, someone I grew up with, he is in Berkeley. So I was working the first year, okay, in the sporting goods, retail. Then from there, they promoted me to a district manager. It was a 4-store chain. They promoted me to a district manager, so they were paying for my tuitions. The first year I worked is because we came from a big family. As American, you can transfer, but as non-citizen, non-California resident, you pay 3 times, right, the tuition. So the first year I worked to establish my residency. Then I went back to school. But you see, I came here because solar engineer. But when I came to the West Coast in 1980, Reagan became the president. Alternative energy program shut. So as I was working in management. And that's how I changed. So I graduated with a management degree. And so God had all these plans. Solar engineer, I'm doing food. In the fellowship, there are all these students, right, graduate students. One of them, it's this person, his name is Sir Ake, last name is Quack, Singaporean. He's very smart. He's actually now teaching in the National University in Singapore. Okay? So he is very, very smart. Undergrad was MIT, went to Berkeley straight into a PhD program. So, and it's a typical, what you call nerd. White short sleeve shirts, khaki pants, okay, straight pants, white socks, okay? Either shoes or sneaker, and the pants is always up, and rides a bicycle. Where's the helmet? It's what I call him. We just call him a nerd, but he's very, very smart. Okay, so IQ I will not even compete, but I would always think that EQ I think I'm better. I'm better. So back then the things that we talked about, okay, or you can say that friendly debate. Back then the best car we can afford is Toyota Corolla. So from his perspective, it's Consumer Report, right? How many cc? I didn't even know cc. I know how many cylinder. It's the same. Right? How many cc? What is consumer? What is repair value? What is the resale value? For me, it's how the car look. How does it feel? How does it drive? Right? But that's the differences. We will have these different debates because he's always coming from the academic side, and I'm coming from, I will say that, the real world. Right? Now, so then in 1986, he asked me some question about how will you develop this biscuits into the U.S. So I thought biscuit, right? Grew up in the U.S., biscuit, it's bread. It's actually bread. So I said, bread, that's cheap. You get them in McDonald's. And he said, no, biscuit is cookies. Then I realized, okay, biscuit is British style, so it's less sugar-based, so you call them biscuits. So I tried to outthink him, came out with some plans, because the sole purpose was just to outthink him. Just to outthink him, because he will have all the academic data, okay, theories, all of that. I just wanted to outthink him. What I didn't know, he was actually interviewing me. As it turned out, his wife, Guan, very, very nice lady. Okay? The graduate student, in my days, the graduate students are all working the Chinese restaurant during the weekends, okay? Washing, bussing tables or washing dishes. So they're all poor graduate students. His wife, Guan, is the daughter of the founder of Khong. So when they asked me the question, now they knew me because of my father. That's why I brought my father in. My father was used to just to spend a week out of every month to minister to all the college fellowship in upstate New York. So he will do it. So he will go to the upstate New York, and then he will go to MIT, he will go to different areas just to minister to the fellowships. So they knew my father, so they thought, pass the kid, it should be okay. So they were interviewing me, I didn't know. And then they asked me, I remember that is on a Monday night, he asked me if I can, I live in San Jose then, okay, if I can go to Berkeley to meet up with her brother Wednesday. Wednesday night is my tennis night. I say, no, no, it was too short of notice. I didn't know the person who wanted to meet with me is the managing director. Who's my boss now? So then they asked me to join Khong. Again, my concept of Khong, tiny little country, okay? And then because Guan is very, very humble, she said that we have a bakery. So I said, okay, I'm a district manager, there's 4 stores. Total weight, it's milk cartons. 4 stores, I manage 3 of the stores. I can't be the manager for the main store. That's because the manager is the one that hired me. Oh, hey, I'm doing okay. They're paying for my tuition. Now you want me to knock on doors, Girl Scout cookie, sell cookie door to door? Then they gave me the company brochure. So, oh, this is a factory. This is actually a pretty big group. And I came out with a marketing plan, but just to see, okay? Came out with the marketing plan to see if they want to put their trust in me. Because typically Asian business is very top heavy in the Far East, Ken, in the Far East, right? Very, very top heavy. So that means that in the US, if they don't really know the US system, you can't really operate. So in that marketing plan, I wasn't sure whether or not they will hire me. Then they asked me to join the company. Now, that's in 86. I just got married in 86. In 86, in the spring, I quit my job because we're getting married in July, and I need to finish school. I still have the last year. I need to finish school. And also, one commitment that I had is to be a youth counselor in our church. So if you are a youth counselor and you go to school full time, you don't have the time to be a full-time employee. So after some counseling with my coworkers, a lot of prayer, then I turned it down. Then in the following week or so, my devotion is, God, look at all the sacrifices. Look at all of this. I can't, this is a good offer, but I can't take that because my commitment, I know my commitment was to the youth. Because in the youth, growing up as a rowdy kid, I know a lot of tricks. But for them, it's a bottleneck. So when they are still in high school, up to high school, you can still kind of instill the Christian principles. Because once they go to college, they get the freedom, they can flip. So to me, that's very, very important. And that was my commitment to God, even before we got married. So I cannot give that up. So I turned the job down, but thank goodness they came back and they told me, you can work part-time, but once you graduate, you have to work full-time. Thank God. That's how I joined Guan. Now, joining Guan, it's just one product in '86. I'm the first employee. Okay? I'm the first employee. My wife, they tried to bring my wife in. As management, you know, you do not work with your spouse. Do not work with your spouse. My wife doesn't even want to share, she doesn't even want to serve with me in church. That is because she's from Hong Kong. Nothing wrong with that. She came out from a very traditional family, and she can't stand the youth. You know, as a youth counselor, when we pray, I'm pretty good athletically. I'll have paper. Because we'll be praying, somebody will be talking, I have to throw the paper. And we even had youth, a 12-year-old girl, that will whistle at guys on the street. My wife can't stand that. So she doesn't want to serve in the youth. Chinese church, I think you're puzzled, right? Yes, we're that bad, Chinese churches. So getting her to work with me, I didn't want to. So I did the smart husband thing. Okay? First I dragged. When I can no longer drag, delay this, then I talked to her. She was working for the federal government, Social Security. It's a safe job. So I explained to her, right? If this thing doesn't work, 5-year plan, doesn't work, we can go back. You have a very, very safe job. Okay? And we discussed different things. And smart husband, you let her make the decision. Unfortunately, she says yes. And why? And then her answer, as a husband, you know, you just shut your mouth. Her answer was, so we can be together. Now, since '86, we worked together. Now, thinking back, it's actually a blessing. Something not what we, as men, that we think, what we thought. Because as a husband and wife team, we knew how the business are. Right? Some people think that we're a little bit crazy because the business are really growing. So our son already moved out. So we live in the office. We have a bed. We have a futon bed. We put a mattress topper on that. As a food company, it doesn't matter how bad is your business, you can always eat your inventory. So we're not going to get hungry. Right? We're not going to get hungry. But that is how we began to work together. And when I travel, we talk every day. It actually helped our relationship. So what people think, or what from the books, from the management, is that you shouldn't work with your spouse. Okay? But in reality, I found that it was a blessing. And the blessing, all of this, is because you have the principle that you have to have a heart that is pure. Then you could be cunning. And you have to be as wise as a serpent. And also, you need to take the extra steps. Being a Christian business person, okay, I thought it's difficult. But in reality, now this is 31 years. Okay? But in reality, I found that the people that I deal with 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25, 30 years, as it turned out, most of them are Christians. We have some non-Christians. But most of them are actually Christians. So as a business practice, okay, this is one of my other philosophy. Generally, right, you want to be careful so you don't get pulled into a trap. For me, trust, right? Everybody knows trust is earned, it's never given. So I would rather put myself open in the very, very beginning. This way, if somebody want to take advantage of me, of my company, they'll do it right away. This guy is really, really stupid. Take the advantage. So I actually lost less. So when when you try to be open, and when you see that the other persons are also open, you don't need to waste time to find this is a good partner or not. You just work together. And then you see. This way I felt that this is the fastest way. Yes, we had some setbacks, but I'd rather have the setback in the beginning. Then you invest all this time, then you have the setback. Okay. Managed by chaos. Okay. This is a crazy world that we're in. In the importing industry, we have the FDA, USDA. USDA is for agricultural products. For Northern California, whenever you import anything, normally it goes through the paperwork, the manifest goes through the custom first. They decide whether or not they want to defend the whole thing. Then they let the USDA to see. So USDA's policy is zero tolerance. So you have something, they will just destroy. FDA is compliance. Then it's up to the FDA, they want to inspect. And when they do inspect the products, there's generally three possibilities. One is you just look at the product to make sure labeling is correct. Or they take the product back for testing. There's two different ways. One is they test for filth, whether or not there's foreign particles in there. Second, they will test whether or not the ingredient's correct. Okay. So in Northern California, this is a chaotic world. Back in the 1993 or 94, there was an FDA officer in Northern California that was picking on the Asian importer. Because Asian importers are always try to find different ways. You know, okay, originally mushrooms, the dry mushrooms, are okay to import. But the tree ear, so the tree fungus, that is under automatic detention. But some of the importers began to bring in the tree ear, they call them mushroom. So the FDA then came out with regulations locally. But this officer came out with inspection technique that is way beyond the federal government allowed. So all the importers were suffering. Anybody that's doing that. They also went to DACA exam, we couldn't DACA exam, rice. Rice, as far as I know, we don't import rice, but as far as I know, the margin for rice is very, very little. Normally importing, you're looking at how many percent. Rice is maybe a container, $100, $200. So it's the volume. If your product being held in the dock, then that examination is over $1,000. So a lot of people are losing. And that's why we started the OFA, Oriental Food Association. And as Oriental Food Association, and I would say this is 93, so more than 20 years now. Okay. The Oriental Food Association in Northern California, we have a lot of ex-presidents here. It's different, this organization. None of the presidents wanted to become the president. They're all forced to. I can say that to all of them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 ex-presidents here. They're forced to. They're forced to. But when they are the president, they basically have to look out for the whole industry and try to see how we can better communicate with the FDA. So in Northern California, the relationship tends to be better because we have a working relationship. The other area, a lot of times, the easiest way to import, if you wanted to know this, is New York. New York is the easiest place to import because over there are a lot of hanky-panky. A lot of things can happen, right? So unless your product have high margin, like Ken's, Ginseng, okay. Or you are already entrenched in New York. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to compete as a Christian. Because as a Christian, we don't import product that's not legal, right? So we're at a disadvantage. So that's with the FDA, but with the OFA in this past 20-some years, our goal was just to help communications and better importing. As for OFA members, is each time when someone wants to join OFA, they have to be recommended by other people because we want to weed out the bad ones. And we want to make sure it has that integrity issue there. And with the upcoming FSMA, as some of you might heard this, FSMA, which is Food Safety Modernization Act, okay? With that, then it actually will get a lot more difficult. And then we are continuing to work on that. This is really a chaotic world. There's a couple of books that I remember. Okay? Clayton Christensen in 1977. His book is The Innovator's Dilemma, Sustaining Innovation and Disrupted Innovations. And what I learned from that book was that disrupted innovation, it's when you see, for example, back then, I think it's the IBM, personal computer, from the mainframe, boom, there's a need. Now you have the Apple. Okay? Then the other book is the Tom Peters, 1988, Thriving on Chaos. It's not the original book. The original book is In Search of Excellence and the Passion for Excellence. Some of the older folks will remember this book. But what I learned from that, it's actually thriving in chaos because chaos actually creates opportunity. And the chaos in the food industry, I generally just put the food industry to 5 different tiers. Right? The first tier is like Neiman Marcus. They have about 80% GP. So you buy this, let's say $100, their cost is about 20, 80% GP. Second tier would be about 60%, okay, duty-free or Whole Food at one time. The third tier would be the regular supermarket, about 35 to 45%. The fourth tier would be I call them the discount chains, so CVS, Walgreens. And the fifth tier it's Costco, warehouse clubs. So in these 5 different tiers, okay, you have to know your product. We have 2,000 products. You have to know your product, so you need to make sure you can segment the product in the right directions. So we have some product. We have a product that we sell to Costco. We started this project in 2003. We launched it in the mainstream market. Costco came by, they want to buy, but that was not my target. First year is not, that's the number 5 year. So first year, we didn't even give them a price. They liked the product. Instead, we tried everything we can, we sold to Saks Fifth Avenue. It's a small shipment. We actually lost money because the trucking is quite expensive. Second year, during Fancy Food Show, they came by, they wanted to buy again. They gave us a deadline. We missed that deadline because we were targeting to duty-free, second year. Third year, they extended deadline because Costco deadline normally is in February. So Fancy Food Show is January. Third year, when they extended deadline to end March, we still missed that because we're not ready yet. Fourth year, they were not happy. So we sold to them a year early. We sold to them in 2006. But when we sold to them, this is where the cunning comes in. We shipped in August That's the worst month for cookies. That's the worst month for cookies. Cookies are generally close to holiday. So you see Costco, all the tins comes out normally right around Thanksgiving, right? But we ship to them in August. Why? That's back to school days. Back to school day, people generally don't think to buy cookie. So is all my competitors. So we're the only cookie that's there. That's how we got into Costco, and we began to build that. But what I learned from working with Costco, it's always, even to my friends who want to go into Costco, you want to make sure, so I don't have Costco buyer here, right? Okay? You want to make sure you sell to Costco your unused capacity. Because when they change, they change. They change. Because we represent the manufacturers. So we have to be responsible. We cannot build something up, and then when Costco change, boom, it dropped. But nothing is always that easy. In 2009, this product that I was talking about, in Northern California, we sold 10 containers. So we know it's not Asian that's buying that. Okay, each container is 7,000 some units. So it's not Asian that's buying that. So I thought, we know we were right. Because this product is what we call crossover product. But then 2008, 2009, the senior buyer came to the show and said, Albert, could you have something that is more toward Asian customers? I said, okay, this product, the name is not Asian, it's a French name. The cookies, they're not almond cookies, they're not fortune cookie. They're not Asian product. Then I learned from the buyer. That year, we actually affected the Kirkland brand. So something that you plan, it's never to what you plan. Things will happen because you cannot really control the outcome. Even Kroger, okay? Even Kroger, now, my VP knows that's mostly because of his doing. We knew in the food industry, in the retail industry, there is a problem. The problem with the retail industry is that supermarkets, right? Supermarket, which is a third tier, 35 to 45% GP. They don't buy directly. They generally, if they want to buy directly, then you have to pay the listing fee or slotting fee, which I don't. Okay? So they always use distributors. The different food distributors, they are specialty food distributors. So they generally carry the organic, okay, the cosmetic, that's all natural, that's where they make money. The one that they lose money is the ethnic food, the Asian food. Why? Because Asians, we tend to compete by price. So we're always trying to think that we can kill each other with price. When you finish killing someone, you're half dead. Thinking, okay, now I'm the king. Someone else come in, boom. So Asians generally compete by price. Okay, generally compete by price. But for the mainstream market, you go through a distributor, that's 35% GP. So for our biscuits, you have $1.69, a range 99. You go to a mainstream supermarket, $2.79. Who's gonna buy? Asians are very frugal. Okay? Yeah, so we're not gonna buy that. Now for Americans, when you buy something from the mainstream market, $2.79, you buy because you don't know the price. But you are used to that system. So when you like that product, you see that in the Asian market significantly less, you are not mad at the store, you are mad at the manufacturer. Because something is wrong with the manufacturer. These Asian manufacturers are cheating. They're selling to themselves or to their own kind a much, much lower price. So that is a dilemma. It can't get through. But we know there's a way. But then that means that no listing fee. So we have a lot of requirements. This, you need to be the leader. You need to have the leverage. So in '86, I took over Guan because we sold to Safeway. Did quite well. Next year, the following year, in the beginning of the year, they asked me if they can put 252 stores in Northern California. Asked me to pick 4 to 6 SKU products, 1 free store product per, one free case per store per product. And I said, no, thank you. We left. Then we sold to, at the time was Lucky's, 55 stores for the Easter program. Did quite well. Afterwards, Lucky is listing fees, $5,000 per SKU. I said, no, thank you. We left. And we began to build the Asian market. And every year we still go to, back then the CGA food show, so California Grocers Association food show. We still go to that shows. And every year I see the buyer. We just say hi. They know I won't sell to them. And because I won't pay. Until 91, they came to me, hey, Albert, could you sell me the product? So I had to dig that in and say, no, I can't. You have the listing fee. Oh, no, we don't need to. So that's how we got into the mainstream. But it's wise as a serpent. But I'm not taking advantage of other people. I'm trying to fix the problem. And even when you do that, you cannot control the outcome. So I can't say that we're successful, because every year, I can tell you, 2 years ago, we lost over $300,000 for this project. But last year, the turnaround is over $400,000. So I still can't say that we're successful. But I can expect that what we will do is we always will try our hardest. Because it doesn't matter what you do, you can only wish for the outcome. And also, God is infinitely wiser than us. In 2008, I had one of my managers was working behind our back with the factory. It's a public listed company. And the thing is, the company actually working with them, with this manager, without letting us know. It's about $2 million a year project for us. So when I found out in August, September, we began to negotiate to see what can we do, what are we going to do. You try not to blow this thing up because it will really affect that company. Because these are individual, okay? It's not the whole company. So in November, we basically settled. But in October, when I was setting my budget for the following year, it's for 2009, I only used half of the revenue because I wasn't sure, right? Then by November, concluded that manager left the company and they will not make any changes. So I thought, hey, that's good. Now, $2 million, let's say if you're looking at 10%, that's $100,000 more profit. But then in February, because of government's regulation, there's a recall. And all companies lost was about $1 million. God is infinitely wiser than us. He foresee that. So when this thing happened to me, I would think that why would these things happen? We try to treat our people nice. We try to treat our people the Christian way. We try to think for them. Why would people still do that? So when these type of things happen, you don't blame God. He is much, much wiser. Now, even in 1998, our company, the distribution side, we almost folded because one of my partners back then, he gambled. So our paid out capital was $500,000 for the distribution side. We lost, his loss for the gambling is over $600,000. And company was operating at a loss for a few years. So the total loss is over $1 million. So I was blaming myself because I tried to be a good Christian. So when we bought the company, I didn't go forth to let people know, well, I'm the managing director. Thank you. That I'm the managing director. Because these are the people that's running the company. So I always stay in the background. But because of that, when he was gambling, we didn't know. He would tell the store that, oh, accounting, computer problems. So you don't need to pay. And with that, he was able to scheme over $600,000. And to me, that was a really a big setback. Until I realized, at the end, I realized everything is controlled by God. I did not put these burdens to God. And once I realized that, once I gave him the burden, I was able to sleep. So it doesn't matter what you do, okay? things will happen. And you can't just blame yourself. You just have to try your best. The other two organizations that I serve in, one is Sobem. Even with Sobem, we started out because Ken saw these TV programs in Canada and wanted to do that. So initially, I think 3 or 4 companies basically buy the airtime using commercial, buying the airtime, so we can run this program. And as the program grow bigger, our needs have become bigger. And through these past 20 years, right? 19, right? 19 years. Through these past 19 years, you can see that the Bay Area churches, most of the churches, everybody knows about Sobem, have a good reputation because we are all volunteer. We have one staff, one paid staff. And we have one paid staff. Then all the budget, I think the budget is about $200,000 to $400,000 a year. So when this Beyond Dream project came out, I remember when Ken shared with it. Business people always had that character, that he's taking risk. He's very gung-ho. When he believes in something, and that's why he's entrepreneur. I'm a manager. There's a difference there. He has the foresight, wanted to do this. The commitment from Sobem was $500,000. Our yearly budget's between $200,000 to $400,000. But we pray about it. Right? It's not because he just forced us to, but we pray about it. We thought that this is a good thing. And this is God's will. He's going to provide the money. And the funds that we collected, that we're able to receive, it's actually even more for the Beyond Dreams. These are the things that I think, coming back as a Christian business person, your intention is correct. You be wise. Make sure you don't get hurt. But even when you get hurt, don't blame yourself. Put your burden to God. Right? Then you carry on. And then that's when you see God's work. So for me, it's a matter of attitude. We know who's the master. He is the master. Once you realize he's the master, a lot of these pressures or these things that happen to you, you can just divert it to God. Okay? And it's a matter of attitude. You have to have faith of what you do is to glorify God. And then you do what will help you to achieve this goal. So it's a lifestyle, not because I need to. It's because I want to. See, it's attitude. Because I want to. Okay? Then when we tend to donate food products. Or when there's a need, like this sharing, I don't like to share. I'm leaving in a few days. I want to spend more time at home. But when there's this calling, something that you need to do, that you're asked to do, you do it because the attitude. Okay? And when you do this, just remember, you are increasing your bank account in heaven. So normally, if we do something, if people want to thank me, that's the worst thing I do. Don't. Whenever you thank me, my bank account goes down. Right? So you do it because you want to. It becomes a lifestyle. And of course, during difficult times, perseverance. And you know that he is in control. So the second verse, or it's a paragraph that I will share, it's peace and hope. It's in Romans, verse 1 to 5. See, therefore, since we have been justified through faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have gained access by faith into his grace, which we now stand, and we boast in the hope of the glory of God, to glorify him. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, then, is character, and character is hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. This is my sharing. It's the attitude. Be wise as a serpent, but more importantly, be pure as a dove. Thank you.